want to introduce you guys to Frank Eufemia, FFL National. He is an integrity partner. He has done incredible things in the business. He's been Hall of Fame every year that I've known him. Hall of Fame agency. He's done some really incredible things and really has been pivotal in the growth of FFL since the beginning. I was at the very first conference, and I think I didn't sell any policies before I got there. And when I watched Frank's training on how to present mortgage protection, that's all we had back then. And then how to present reverse mortgage protection. That was a game changer because all the mortgages here were like $1 million, like it's California, you know. And how do you present these things where it makes sense? And then I remember like the third conference, we did this panel, these breakout sessions on recruiting, and Frank's idea on how to build and how to recruit, and you know, not just hiring anybody that can fog up a mirror or recruit anybody that can fog up a mirror, but actually being selective in the process and shooting people straight and letting them understand what it's actually going to take and spending time with people. All those things were majorly influential in my development as an agent and has played a big role. So I'm excited for you guys to get a chance to hear from Frank and see how he does this. This is episode 2 of Road to Hall of Fame. And we're going to title this one, It Takes What It Takes. And so what I'm going to do is just let Frank talk as long as he wants to. So you guys give Frank a warm round of applause. And Frank, thanks for jumping on.
Can you hear me okay, Trey?
Yes, I hear you great.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always, you know, there's so many good people here that I think sometimes you lose sight of just how special this company is. And I'm not like, I could care less about anything as far as recognition. It's just not what we do. But watching all these guys that are coming in, blowing these numbers out the water in half the time, in a fraction of the time it took us to do it, it's impressive. You know, I mean, you look, I was talking to somebody today, I was talking to a guy from PHP, and I'm going like, you got 70 agents, you issue 80 grand a month. What is wrong with that picture? Like, and he's like, well, you've been doing it for 8 years. I was like, okay, well, Nina and Hayden have been here for like 3, and they're about your age, and they blew it up with social media. I fought social media for a long time because I hated it. I should say. I don't hate it anymore, but I'm older. I'm 45. I feel like, you know, it was for people that want to share their business, share their life. And I'm like, I don't do that. It's just not how I was raised. So I had to get over it. But it's so wild watching this ride that we've been on for the last 8 years really. And to see where we're at now, it's exciting. And if you're here, you should be excited, because people always say, Trey, like, I wish I was here from the beginning. I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, we went through a lot of stuff that we don't talk about a ton, but the lawsuit, we had one carrier, like America was it. And they approved like 48% of what we submitted. So it was, I want to say it was awful, but it was fantastic at the same time. And now with integrity, it's another level, but I listen a lot, especially when I'm around a lot of people and I hear people talk. And with building, there's, to me, first thing you have to do, you have to sell insurance. If you don't want to do this selling insurance, then you better have a bunch of money in the bank and you better not care about it, because you're going to have to spend it, and you're going to have to spend it aggressively, because there's no other way to get there. But when you sell 40 grand a month, and most of us aren't wealthy when we get here. So, you know, where I was at, where I'm sure you were at, like, I had no money. I needed to make money to provide for my family. So selling was the deal. And then the amount of money we wanted to invest, I didn't have a choice but to double the amount of production I was doing. And that was Sean, you know, take Sean's lead and go. But I think there's a lot to be said about going through stuff. There's too many people that are, you know, if you're recruiting, Trey, I know you're getting this, like, I'm talking to agents coming from other organizations, and they're going like, well, what are you going to give me? And I'm going, slow down, Tonto. What are you doing for us? Like, I'm not giving you anything. I'm giving you an opportunity. I'm not going to pay you to come work for me. That's weird. You're not a ball player. You can't slam a basketball. You can't throw a football. You're not hitting a baseball or pitching. Like, why would I pay you to come work here? You're going to get paid if you want to go to work. Or will you give me free leads? Or will you do this? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't have any of that. And every time I've seen people that are handed stuff, it just tends not to work. So why don't we just go to work and build it the right way? and go through stuff, because that's where you learn your most valuable lessons. And the more expensive the lesson, typically the more you learn. So it's like, I love talking to agents now. They're like, man, I had one the other day. The guy's like, man, this person rolled 7 grand in debt. I was like, yeah, remember when I told you not to take them as a transfer, but you wanted them so bad, you were going to change. You were so special, you were going to change how good they were. No, it's like, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. It's just, that's a fact. Now, if you have the right person, there's things you can say to help them and guide them and get them to where they want to get to faster. But the people that aren't going to win aren't going to win. And I think that's what we figured out and stopped fighting. We tried to push so many people to do things they weren't ready to do. So it's easiest thing is to just work with people that want to work with you, trust in motion, and teach them all how to sell, and teach them how to sell at a high level. I think, Trey, the most impressive thing to me that I saw this year, yeah, Nina and Hayden and Alondra and Josh, and you get your deal, and everybody getting their deals. But watching Zach have 19 Hall of Fame producers blew my mind. Like, it blew my mind. The first year we did Hall of Fame, we didn't have 19. So like, and that was the entire company. He had 19 this year. So he's doing something right. And you were at the Founders Day meeting when he was talking about, like, this is what I'm doing. You have $1,000 to invest in leads to start this business. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, it's probably not going to work out for you. And it's true. Like, we want to help and save. And people like yourself, Trey, I know how big your heart is and how much you care about people. I'm the same way. And it was a detriment because I want to help everybody. So if I'm talking to you, Trey, and you're like, well, I don't really have $1,000. My wife just left me, my dog died, and my mom has got surgery. Like, I would have said, okay, I'll invest in leads in you. And then I'm not watching you. So I'm giving you leads. You're not calling them. And then you call me the following week. I give you another batch of leads. And then I wind up hating you because you're not doing anything and it's my fault. I'm like, it's twisted, right? It's just, so if you just work with people that really want to work, you tend to save yourself a lot of frustration and anger. I was angry for a while. There was a long while, which said to Jamie all the time, like, I could just sell insurance. I could sell 500, 600, 700 grand a year, and I don't have to worry about anybody but myself. And then I started, and you got Sean in the background going, yeah, that's because you're selfish. You don't want to help nobody. I'm like, well, thanks, bud. I appreciate that. But, you look down and you go, yeah, you're right. We have such a good opportunity to share. You are selfish if you don't share it. You are selfish if you're not willing to grow and learn and go through some stuff to figure it out. Because if you just hang around long enough to figure it out, you're gonna provide a life for your family that you could only dream of. So I was on an airplane. I wrote these 10 things down. I think it's 10. Let me make sure it's 10. Yeah, it is 10. These 10 things changed our world. And when I say our, I say Jamie. Like, there was a long time in this business that it was just my face, and the whole MLM deal is like spouses and couples. And I said to Sean, I said, the thing about Jamie and I is we've worked together since we've known each other, and everything business wise we've done together. Our kids are old. It's like, it'd be weird not to have her because she's really good at certain things. I'm really good at other things, and we stay in our lane and we do twice as good. She picks up where I'm weak. I pick up where she's weak. So the 10 things that we've learned that's changed our business, most of them come from Sean. Some of the stuff have come through life lessons and things we've learned in this business, but most of them, to me, you have to adapt really quick. And number one is time's moving quickly, like, and you need to move faster. People will say all the time, like, I'm getting ready. You're getting ready to get ready for what? Like, I've got people that are, I'm making this marketing campaign and it'll be ready in a month and a half. I'm like, what's wrong with being ready in 3 days, launching it and fixing it as you go? That's, to me, the way this company was built. And I've watched it firsthand. I've watched it from leads to carriers to CRM to bonuses. Like, Sean is not a patient guy, but I appreciate that because he'd throw it out, we'd start moving, and then we'd adjust. He'd adjust, not we. I ain't taking credit for none of that. He'd adjust it as we go. The beautiful thing about it is if he was sitting still, we would have sat still and waited for him. So if you're building this, your group, your guys, your team, your girls, they're watching you. They're watching you lead. So whatever you do, they're going to follow. So if you're waiting on something, they're waiting too, right? And a lot of people are waiting for you to figure it out. That's the thing. And it doesn't matter if Trey hired you. If you hired Tom, Tom's watching you, not Trey. Because Tom's looking at Trey going, he's been doing this forever. He's already up there. He's not going to talk to me. Like, they're watching you. And that's the biggest thing, that production goes side by side, because whatever you do, they may do half. The right one will do what you do or more, but most people do half or less. So if you're doing 10,000, you're not giving them a shot, right? So you got to move, and you got to move fast. Don't be afraid to just move and break things and fix it. Like, there's not much. I've learned this. There's not much that you could do that's not illegal and unethical that we can't fix if you mess it up. I mean, and if it's definitely, if it's unintentional, even if it's illegal or against FTC stuff, and like, we could fix that too, right? Because as long as you don't have ill will or bad intentions, then we'll help you, right? So just move and adjust, move and adjust, move and adjust. The best, most successful people make decisions and react very fast. Most unsuccessful people take forever to make the smallest decision. So that's one thing I've learned by watching Sean. This is a really big one. And when I talk to people, and this is the conversations you're probably having with your guys, Trey, but having a fear of losing money prevents you from making money. I get calls on a weekly basis from my guys going, when is it going to get better? And I go, what do you mean by that? Because I'm watching your life. First of all, you seem to live a pretty good life. And so what do you mean by when's it going to get? First of all, you have more money in your bank account 2-3 years in than I definitely had. So what do you mean by when's it going to get better? And they go, well, when is it going to stop coming out so fast? Or when is it going to stop, feeling like I'm drowning? I'm going, well, you're definitely not drowning. You just like having that cushion. And so you're fearful of putting it all back in. There was probably, so FFL has been around for 8 years. It's 2022. I'd say 5 years, 5.5 years where I had no more than 10 grand in the bank. Like, and if we happen to get, like, if I issued a big annuity for 25 grand and then I had 35 grand, in like 2 weeks, something happened, it was gone, right? So we always put it all back in. We were aggressive with leads, aggressive with marketing, aggressive with office space, aggressive with staff, because that's what I watched. And so back to that first statement I made, like, people go, I wish I was here from day one. I go, I don't know about that. The benefit I had, now we went through stuff. So if you weren't tough enough to handle it, you would have quit. But the reward of that was being mentored and being able to follow Sean, which he's the best at it, at anything. So, and he talks to people. And even if he's not indirectly talking to you, he tells you exactly what to do. You're just choosing to listen or not. That's a fact. So when he tells you should have staff immediately, first staff, you should have a social media marketer and hiring manager. Like, how many of y'all have that? I don't know. I mean, I look at people's social media stuff all the time and I laugh. I'm like, what, did you hire somebody from in kindergarten to do that? It's pretty impressive. Actually, it's awful. I wouldn't come work for you because of how bad it looks, but he tells everybody to do it. So if everybody listened to him, they'd be already further ahead, but they don't, because they have that fear of investing their money and they don't know what their returns are going to be or what's your ROI. And if y'all know my wife, Jamie, ask her when you see her the next time, how many times she saw me look at a P&L statement, and she'll tell you never. Like, I literally, the only thing I ever looked at, and I didn't look at this all the time, was the bank account, because I didn't care. I knew what had to be done and it always seemed to work out. I'm a big believer, like, if you just do the right things, it'll work out. So I just had the faith, and sometimes you go, my eyes were closed. I go, okay, no big deal. It is what it is. But we made it because we weren't afraid and we invested. And whatever Sean said do, when it came to money, we did it. So that's number 2. Number 3, wrong decisions matter less when you have a true purpose. Meaning, like, you don't care as much when you make a mistake when the bigger picture is other people, or where the bigger picture is, like, for me, now that we're here and we started doing this, I think 3 years ago, we started giving to an orphanage. And so, like, when things were going bad, I would go, well, look at these kids that live in this orphanage. Their parents, they don't know where their parents are. Some of them they pulled from, like, fight, you get like dog fights. In Honduras, they put kids in a ring and make them fight. It's kind of disgusting. So I'm going, like, this can't be that bad, right? First, my kids are healthy. Nobody's dying of cancer. Minimalizing things is a characteristic that I think most successful business people have. and everybody does it different. Like if I had to imagine, Trey, like you would joke about things because you have a sense of humor that's better than anybody I know, right? Me,
Thanks.
I might punch a wall and move on. I don't know, but it's like it's gone. It takes up very little bit of my time and my mental capacity because it doesn't benefit you. And when you're striving for something bigger than yourself, then when you make a mistake, you have no choice but to dust yourself off and move on because there's a game to be played. And so if you have a true purpose or if you have a true why, then it won't matter. Like the attorneys, the legal fees, the lawsuits, the carrier issues, none of that mattered because we were trying to accomplish something. So that's number 3. Number 4, you don't need anyone's permissions to chase your dreams. You don't need anyone's permissions to go to work. And to me, this is a big.
You there?
I hear you now.
All right, perfect.
Yes.
Call was coming in. A lot of people are surrounded by negative folks and their family, friends, and people that watch the news all the time, or people that read bad stories online. Like that's terrible for you. And then when you start doing something, they go, "Why are you doing that? Like, oh, why do you work so much? Or why do you do this? Why do you want to be financially stable? Why do you want to be rich?" Some people call it rich. Why are you greedy? Like, I don't need your permission to take care of my family the way I see fit. I don't need it. I know that. And again, I know that money doesn't buy happiness. It makes it easier to be happy. And it also isn't the root of all evil. Bad people with money are evil. Good people with money are good. It doesn't change who I am just because I have money. In fact, I think we do more now better because I have extra money. Like we can do more for people that have needs, right? So you don't need anybody's permission for that stuff. You just go to work, and if you work hard enough, here's the kicker: if you're not willing to work as hard as it takes to get there, then you give people that right. But if you said to me, "Trey, you're never going to make it," or "Now's not the time," I go, "Okay, I'll prove you wrong," just to say I proved you wrong, right? Number 5, getting to the top of the mountain is not going to happen without some issues. It's not going to happen without struggles. But the faster you embrace that, the easier it is. And I think that is what builds character in people. You have to be able to again, deal with stuff, move it aside and keep going. Adjust, move it aside, keep going. I've coached football for 17 years. And I can tell you at every game at halftime, whether we're winning or whether we're not winning, whether we're tied, whether we're losing, whether we're winning, I make adjustments. Why? Because I see things in the game. Now, listen, we spend the entire week preparing for that game, but the plans don't always go according to schedule. And I think a lot of us get so bent out of shape that it didn't work out the way you were seeing it in your head that it throws you off your game. And you almost have to have short-term memory loss in a sense, because yes, you're going to do things that don't work. You're going to try things that don't work. You're going to hire somebody that you thought was a really good person, and they're going to go out, write bad business and roll it to you. Like, it's okay. But that stuff to me is what, like, the more people that you talk to, the more things that go right and wrong, both, it gives you that filter to knock out the people that you shouldn't have with you. Because there are people we shouldn't hire. Like we see them all the time, right? And you get calls and we get calls. And you call Brian.
All right, you're
Yes.
back.
Yeah, my phone keeps ringing. No. So there are a million people we shouldn't hire. The signs are all there, but I think at some point we want the numbers. We're looking at the end game so closely. You're not realizing your king's exposed. Like you got to pay attention. It's chess, not checkers, and things matter. When agents call me and go, "Man, I'm not getting help. I want to come to your office." Okay, come to my office. I'll help them. And if they go, "Well, I'd like to just work with you," my answer is no. Well, because I'm giving you everything you need. I'll even give you leads. So the reason you're not successful isn't because Tom hired you. It's because you're not working. And usually those people don't come to the office. They don't get on the trainings and they write bad business. So again, it's everything that you learn in this business going forward. And that includes buying leads, mailers, everything. The more you know, the more mistakes you've made, the easier it will be for you to teach other people how to be successful with the least amount of mistakes. That's our goal. This is number 6. People will let you down if you let them. Meaning, I can't expect you to do anything. And that was, Trey, one of my biggest issues early on was I expected people to think and feel and act the way I would. And that's just not true. It's business. And when Sean talks about the 4 key ingredients to get integrity deals, sell to high level, invest it back in your business, stay humble, don't be emotional. That's absolutely 100% legit, because that's where the emotion comes from. So if I'm doing something for you, Trey, and you want to leave, or you're not working as hard as I think you should work, then I'm mad at you, and then I don't talk to you, or then I might say something that could run you off because I'm brash. I can be, and I was coached by Sean, right? You've heard Sean talk,
Right.
Yeah, I promise you. You've heard Sean talk, but Sean coached me the way you heard him at his maddest is the way he coached me for the last 8 years. Like, every time he called, I'd be like, what did I do wrong now? Because I knew it was coming. Now, that was okay for me. I was raised that way. So I was used to it, right? But then I try and take that and coach other people that way, and I'd run them off. Now, but what I realize is when I'm not expecting them to do anything, they can't let me down. So I go, here's the deal. I hope you do. I'm rooting for you. I'm cheering for you. I'm praying for you. And if you don't, no big deal. The time's not right now. It may not. Trey, you said yourself, Trey, I've watched your journey at FFL. You weren't a great producer. You weren't a great hire. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went off and you changed it. If Andrew would have bashed you nonstop for 6 months, you probably would have quit, right?
Yep.
He let you be. He let you do what you had to do. He wasn't mad. He wasn't emotional. He didn't have any type of ideas in his head about what your success should look like. And then when you changed, you said, I want your help. I want to get here. He said, I got you. Here's the steps. I'll help you if you do these steps, right? It's pretty simple.
Right.
You save yourself a lot of headache. Number 7, the grind is worth your reward. Embrace the grind. That's the other thing I'm getting from a lot of agents out that have been here a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're like, man, I'm tired. I'm going, like, what? First of all, you're 30. And what do you mean by tired? Like, tired of what? They're like, well, it's a grind. I'm like, yeah, I know. The money's pretty good, by the way, when you get here, but it's not something that's easy. It's why it pays so well. If it was stupid easy, it would be a fraction of the money that we make. So embrace that, embrace the process, because you look back on anything. Like most people you talk to, you go, if they look back to high school, they're, man, I wish I'd go back to high school. But in high school, you hated it, right? You wished it was over so fast, and then it's over. You're like, crap, that was awesome. That's kind of how I feel about this. Like, yeah. The goal is integrity. I'm at integrity. I'm like, man, that was awesome. I wish I could go back. Like, I wish I could go back in the field. I wish I could start over and do some things, but it's like, you can't. So embrace the journey and just enjoy it, because it's fun. Even the bad times now, we can go back and laugh. I mean, I remember the first meeting we went to in Kansas City with Americo, and it was me and Dom and Mark Mead and Killamit and Matt Smith and Ruggiero, and we're in a meeting with Jeremy, Phil Pokenhorn, and Michael Merriman, and we're in like a U-shaped table, and we're like, it's taking riffraff and put them in the White House. We're sitting around a table spitting sunflower seeds in a cup, and Sean's got steam coming out of his ears. And we didn't know any different, right? Because we weren't business people. We were just young kids that were on a trip. We were like on a field trip, right? We got on the bus and he laid into us. And that moment, it sucked. I'm like, man, we let him down. We should have known better. But now we go back and think of the story. Like, we all laugh because it's funny now, right? We're here, we made it. But, it's just, it could have been really bad, but it wasn't. He laid into us, and then 2 seconds later, he was fine. But he never held on to any of that stuff because he enjoys it. He enjoys the grind. He enjoys the journey, enjoys watching people grow, watching people make mistakes, watching people fix what they do wrong. It's all, to me, it's exciting. I love watching it. So number 8, when it's about other success more than yours, you'll explode. I don't know how to put that in you, other than I think personally, if you do 40 grand a month, you don't have no money problems. So then things like leads for agents, overrides, none of that mean agents that come in that you could go, man, this guy would work so well with Trey, but I'm not going to give him the trade because I need the override. Like when it becomes about Trey more than it's about me, then it's over. And that, by the way, works in the field too. When it becomes more about your client than your feelings, than your fears of being judged, when it becomes about your client more than anything, your selling's easy. And this building works the same way. We don't, again, I don't think we talk about this stuff more. We should talk about it more, but we don't. And that's when it changed for me. When I stopped thinking about like, what is this doing for me? And I'm not, listen, trust me when I tell you, I'm not judging. I was there at one point because I was broke. So when you're broke, it's really hard to think about other people when you're just trying to survive, right? But when you start issuing 20, then 25, then 30, 35, 40, then the money's in. It's like, all right, all my bills are paid. And I'm trying to get here. Like I can help him get here faster, which means he's going to be happier. He's not going to leave. He's going to be loyal. Because then when you do things for people you don't have to do, they become really loyal, right? So make it about them. How do you do that? Get the 40 grand issue paid a month very fast. Because if you do that, the world will change for you. And Trey can tell you exactly what to do with everything because he's done it. And if he can't, he'll be the first to tell you, hey, call Andrew. And if Andrew can't, he'll tell you, call Sean. That's how it is here. Like the egos at the top are so not big. Some people, I guess you could call them have ego, but like the genuine people that truly want to see you win care little about the credit. They care about your success more than they care about anything else. So it's a huge ingredient to me. And I think you could fix that simply by just doing 40 grand a month. Number 9, I only got 2 more. There's no place for emotion in this business. That was me too. I'm Italian. You know how to, if you know any Italian people, like the first time Jamie ever came to my house for dinner, we left. She's like, why were you all screaming at each other the whole dinner? I'm like, we were just talking. Like, she walked out. We were just talking. She's like, no, y'all were like hands everywhere. I'm like, we're just passionate, but we're also emotional. Like, if I like you, I like you. If I don't like you, it's a problem. You'll know it. If I'm expecting Trey to do something and he doesn't do it, I get mad. And when I get mad, I verbalize it. When I buy leads and, I buy 10 leads and 2 have the wrong number, I lose my mind. Or if I hire this agent and he rolls $2,000 in debt, I go crazy. That was a big deal for me. And that's if you talk to Sean about me personally, and he'll tell you, because I don't care, he'll tell you my biggest issue was emotionality. I was an emotional roller coaster. And maybe it was the way I was brought up. I'm taught to, I trust hard and I love hard, then I hate even harder. And in business, it's real easy to fall into that cycle, especially because people are going to always do what's best for them until they've been around here long enough to realize that they don't have to always do what's best for them. Because if they do what's best for everybody, it's even better for them. And so that's, reading really helps with that. Talking to people about scenarios before sending text messages is a terrible idea. Emails, phone call. Like if you want to send a nasty text, okay, fair enough. Type it up, get it all out, but sit on that thing for 24 hours. Better yet, call Trey and go, here, I'm thinking about sending this text. You want to read it first? I mean, I had like the best in the business is Mike Killiman. Dude, he's the chillest dude ever. So I would use him all the time. I'd be like, bro, and I like Sean would just get done, light me up, and I'm MFing him. I want to like kill him. So I'm typing this out. I send it. I'm like, dude, I'm sending this to Sean. He'll call me like, that's a bad idea, bro. Just chill, relax. Can you give me 24 hours and then call me tomorrow? I'm like, okay. Or like, I'm blowing this agent out. I'm like, and Sean's like, dude, I did a call probably in December 12th, 2013, 14. I'm going to say I did a call in 2015 and Mark Mead hopped on with me. And we finished the call and Mark he called me right after, he goes, wow, you really hate your people. I was like, yeah, I freaking can't stand them. He's like, yeah, I know. And by the way, they all know too. I'm like, okay. He's like, dude, why? You're you're a terror. I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's how Sean's coached me. And like, I really love them, but they piss me off. He's like, dude, you can't do it that way because you're just too much. So I fought with it. Like, bro, I'm not big by any stretch of imagination. Like I took a while to get here because they're like, when we say anybody can do it, like this should be proof to you. I was a disaster. Could I sell? Absolutely. But if you look at a lot of the top salespeople in this company and look at, do they have massive businesses? The answer is no. They don't, because usually they're a mess. You know what I mean? Like you got to be some sort of nuts to run the type of business to do massive production, right? You don't care much about seeing your kids and family because you're running. So it's tough, but emotionality is the thing that makes most people fail, because they run people off or they make really bad decisions based off emotion. And once you damage some of these relationships, it's really hard to get back. In fact, I have a handful of agents that, you know, they're on my team. Everybody's on my team. Everybody has the ability to talk to me. I'm not one of those guys that go, I can't talk to you, I'm too busy. But they won't call their upline, they want to talk to me because something happened, right? And I'm going like, that could have so been avoided if they would have just taken their time before they sent that email, before they made that statement, before they did anything. And so just try and be careful. And again, Trey, you would be to me, I would be talking to you daily building this, because building this is going to test you. It tests you as a man, it tests you as a woman, it tests you as if you got faith, it tests you as a Christian. Like I've had some thoughts. I'm like, geez, that was really bad. So use Trey. I mean, he's so good at taking things and again, minimalizing them to make it not that serious. And I think the best thing I've ever done in my life was that missions trip to Honduras with that orphanage. I'll tell you what, bro, we delivered food to this village. And when I say food, I mean like a bag of rice and some flour so they could make like this flatbread. And there was no steak, there was no French fries, no ketchup, like what we get on a daily basis. Like there was none of that. They didn't have no running water, no electricity. They lived on a dirt floor with like a couple pieces of wood around and a roof, but they were happy. And I look at that and go, there's nothing that happens to me, minus my kids getting really sick or something happened to my wife, my close family, that is really that bad. Most of it's a first world problem. There are people that have real problems that don't know where to get drinking water, right? So like, let's just knock it off and stop being so self-righteous. And let's just be thankful for what we have. Perspective's everything. There's a book by Andy Andrews. It's called The Noticer. It's an incredible book on perspective. And a lot of times emotion is tied to perspective. So if you read that, it might help you. But I tell you, it's changed my life in the sense of giving myself a different perspective when things are supposedly bad, right? And number 10, and I'll wrap this up. Giving, even when you don't have it, brings it back tenfold. This is when, and listen, I can only tell you what's happened for me in my life and my family and Jamie and our business. When I started giving, like religiously, even when I didn't have it, it just started coming back in faster than I could imagine. And it's not like I'm definitely not I'm not qualified to speak about religion. I have faith, I believe. But if people look at me, a lot of times that's the problem with any type of religion, is people judge you. I'm all sorts of messed up. I'm not perfect, but in the Bible, it says, test me. Okay. Like I'm that guy. Like, okay, I like tests. Like you're going to prove me right or wrong. That way I know. So if you don't believe me and you have faith, read the book. It talks about that stuff. It says, test me. If you don't believe me, test me. It's the only part in the Bible that says test me. But we started doing it, and I realized it doesn't have to be like to a church. Like I started giving 10% of my bonus every month to the orphanage. And then we just cut them a check for 25 grand. It was the greatest thing I've ever done. Like people going like, what have you done since you partnered with Integrity? I gave the orphanage 25 grand. I haven't bought a house, boats, cars. Like that to me. And I was so full of fulfillment and joy because I know that money's going to change those kids' lives, whether it's for 5 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. I'm making a difference, right? So giving, whatever you believe in, give. Like, I love integrity. I love integrity has the serve days, like for all your staff. Dude, that blew my mind. I'm like, this is right where we need to be. They're lined up with the morals and values we have. That company's lined up with. And so wrapping it up, Trey, those are the 10 things I would tell you. And I would say, dude, just treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat people with respect. That's all they want. They want to be heard. They want to be talked to. They want to be loved. They want to be respected. That's it. That's a big thing we get. This person disrespected me. I'm like, okay, like, got it. But seriously, knock it off. Like, you're supposed to be in charge. Like, you're going to get this. You ever seen some managers get talked to at restaurants? Like, oh, they get disrespected on a daily basis. And they sit there and take it. That doesn't make them, and that actually makes them stronger than you, because you're acting like a fool. And some of that really shouldn't have an effect on the way you act is affecting you. That makes you really weak, by the way. So treat people with respect, because that's what they want. Treat them with love. That's what they want. Answer your phone. That's the biggest complaint we get. It's not that complicated. Everybody can do this, but not everybody will. So don't hire everybody and expect them to. Hire the ones that absolutely want to work, and then you'll have a much better deal. It'll be much easier on your mindset. It'll be much easier on your bank account. It'll be much easier on your stress level. Just go to work. So, dude, I can talk for hours because I love this stuff. Is there something? Yeah, I mean, question, you want me to wrap it up? I'm good with whatever you want, buddy.
Man, a lot of that hit home. I mean, holy cow, that's probably the best 10 things I think I've ever heard. Yeah, the giving thing, that's huge. And the faith part of it, and, not expecting from people, because that is how you get super emotional. I've made that mistake a lot. Like I don't just laugh stuff off. I punch walls too. but the only times I've done that is, it's because I had this expectation, or I wanted somebody to be somewhere where they weren't too quick, And I've seen some of the stuff you've gone through, and I've seen some of the times you've had to swallow your pride and forgive and move on. And it's definitely a journey.
It's not easy. I promise you it wasn't easy. But Mike File's my biggest group. Mm-hmm. Dude, he left he left in 2018. We were at 302,000. The month after he left, we were at 148. So I didn't even at that conference walk on stage as a VP. Like, I was bent, and he wanted to come back, and Sean's like, let him come back. I'm like, you're freaking crazy. No, he's like, it got so bad. It's funny. I said to Sean, dude, if you let him come back, I quit. And he started laughing. He's like, dude, you ain't quitting. Knock it off. Like, and I sat there, I go, God, that would, like, what? I was like, you didn't even care what I said. He's like, dude, you're not going anywhere. But if you want your money back, dude, the easiest way to get it is for it to bring it back. Like, he realized he made a mistake. But that's the other thing. Yeah. Like, I'm so prideful that, okay, you make a mistake, but I don't forgive you, even though you made a mistake. I don't have that right not to forgive you, because I'm not perfect. I made plenty of mistakes that people have forgiven me on. And again, I think it just goes. And what I've learned now too is that's cool is karma. If religion freaks people out, everybody talks about karma. Okay, call it karma. There is good karma, bad karma. I like to call it God, but karma works the same way. So just karma's real, man. Do the right things. Everything right will happen if you keep doing the right things. It might happen on the time you want it to happen. That's the issue. Like, you'll get there when it's time, but you don't determine the time. Only karma or God determines the time. You're right where you're supposed to be. And if you're not where you want to be, look in the mirror. That's why. Make sense?
Yeah, totally. Oh, and your social media is awesome, by the way.
So you know what's the greatest thing ever? So my son, my oldest, I don't know. Have you ever met my oldest son, Frankie?
No.
He was at conference. I don't know if you saw him. He was, he's like my mini-me. And when I was young, I was bad. He was me. He's me, but he's got a really big conscience. So he'll do bad stuff and he starts feeling really bad, which is a good thing. So him and I were battling for a year or 2 years. And I'm like, you get out. Like, I throw him out of my house. So he goes and he comes back. She's like, man, I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this. And Jamie's like, I just let go of my social media director. Jamie's like, why don't you let Frankie do it? I'm like, I I'm afraid I'll kill him because he's my son, right? You know, and you have high expectations of your children. I said, all right, because he's creative, right? I mean, it's just who he is. He's very good at drawing. He sees things. He builds things. I said, I think he could kill it. I just don't know if he could do it for me, because I don't want to ruin my relationship with my child. But he's come in, Trey, and I probably like he's priceless in the sense of, you know, Factory Fresh, you know, Andrew, you know, Drew. He lives at that office. Like, I have to drag little Frankie out of the office at night. I have to literally tell him to clock out and go home. And then when we're home at like 11:30, he'll run upstairs and go, Dad, what if we did this? Like, dude, my man's 24/7 thinking about this business. Now, people go, well, that's your son. No, there are staff you can find that are like that. If you don't have them, I'd probably let them go. They don't have to be 24/7, but they damn sure should be 16 hours a day, whether they're at the office or not. They should be thinking about, how can I make this company, my company, better? Because that's how they look at it. It's their name. And his deal is like, I'm fighting with him all the time and going like, dude, start the podcast. He's like, dude, the camera doesn't look right. It's out of focus. I'm like, I don't care. He's like, I do. I'm not putting my name on it. And I can't argue with it, right? So, dude, there's a lot to be said in that, but it's the best thing ever, man. I see my oldest every day. He's at the office and he's telling me what to do. So my social media is not me. I mean, I'm doing stuff, but he grabs me and I'm like, which is what I need. He grabs me. He's like, I need a reel. I need to do this. I need to do this. I'm like, okay, got it. So if you don't have somebody pushing you to do that stuff, find them and then submit to them. See, most people wouldn't submit to someone that they're paying. But I tell all of my staff, my assistants, her job's to, dude, it's funny. I texted her yesterday. I said, I'm doing a call with Trey tomorrow. I need you to call me at 15 minutes before to make sure I'm good. If you can't get me, call Jamie. And if you can't get neither one of us, keep calling until we pick up. Her job's to keep me straight. Frankie's job is to keep my social media up to date and relevant, right? My hiring manager. Right. So if you can't take advice from your staff, it's because of your ego. Check it. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right. Well, thanks for jumping on this, Frankie. This has been awesome. And anything I can ever do to help out or reciprocate, let me know. And I'm sure that I'll definitely have to get the recording out to a bunch of people, because I got a bunch of texts saying how great this was. So thanks for jumping on.
You, man. Thank you, Trey. Love you, bro.
Love you too. You guys make it a great week.
You too, man. See you.